Hello YouTube, and welcome to another exciting edition of Rob's Arcade. As per usual, I'm your host Rob, and I gotta tell you Player 2s, I had the craziest dream last night.
In my dream, I was in the arcade about to play some Marvel superheroes when all of a sudden this weird black goo got all over my hand. Oh, it gets better, Player 2s. The goo took over my hand and then started running up my whole arm. It eventually took over my entire body and turned me into something, well, different.
Yeah, that was a pretty weird dream. In my opinion, there's two reasons that happened. One, I really gotta stop eating greasy pizza before I go to sleep. And two, I am super excited about the topic of this episode, which is... Yeah, looks like maybe that wasn't a dream after all. Let's check out what we're going to be drawing while I try to sort this whole thing out. Hadouken! You guessed it, Player 2s. The topic of this episode is Venom. When we're done drawing Venom, we're going to take a trip down to the Classic Game Showcase and spend a little bit of time playing an old school video game featuring Venom. So how about we check our supplies, and in the meantime, I'm going to try to get rid of a symbiote.
We are Venom.
Okay, Player 2s, I am super excited about this one. Let's draw Venom. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our pencils and we're going to press very lightly and draw a circle. Now be sure to leave a lot of space at the bottom of your paper because we're going to have a lot more details that go down here. Inside the circle, we're going to draw a guideline going right through, through to about there. Again, we're going to press very lightly. After that, starting right about here, I'm going to draw a little X so my Player 2s can see. We're going to draw a curved letter V. So it comes to a little bit of a point at the bottom, but it's still rounded. After that, we're going to draw, starting right about here, actually we'll even just draw a guideline just to keep an idea. So a little curved line right through about there. We're going to draw a line and then a curve. So we're going to make kind of a half moon type shape. Same thing over here. Line and then a curve. Again, we're pressing very lightly. We're going to go back into these parts. Obviously, we can tell that these are Venom's eyes. We're going to go back into this part, and we're going to start adding a little bit more details at a later step. But we should have something that looks very similar to this. If it doesn't, that's okay. Feel free to erase stuff. Keep practicing. We're not going to be perfect the first time we do this. Next thing we're going to do is, starting right about here, we're going to draw a little curved line. It goes up to about here, and then we're going to kind of follow our original guideline here and just make a slightly smaller shape than we did originally. I'm going to taper it off to there. Next step, we're going to draw Venom's teeth. This is probably the most difficult part of this drawing, and even then it's not even that hard. So as you can see, we have guidelines here for what will be his eyes and his mouth. Inside of the mouth, to right about, I'm going to draw a little guideline so all my Player 2s can see, to right about here, we're going to draw a series of triangles that have curved bottoms. So we're going to start with a curve, and then we're going to draw a triangle there. Curve and a triangle. And these can be a little bit messy. They don't have to be perfectly straight because Venom really needs a trip to the dentist and his teeth are pretty jacked up. So we're going to just keep drawing our curved line, triangle, and just have a series of teeth that are all over here. Some of them can even overlap. So we're just going and going and going. But even then, it's once you draw one of these, you got it down. So a series of teeth that look very similar to this. Again, if you see, I did them overlapping just to make his mouth look super, super crazy. So when we're done with that, we're going to take our pencils and draw a rectangle right here for his tongue. I know I'm moving a little fast, player twos, but the good thing about this being on YouTube is I always say we can stop, we can pause it, we can catch where we made mistakes. Move at your own speed. So we did our rectangle. Inside the rectangle, we're going to draw a little line in there. Now at the bottom of our rectangle, we're going to draw a curve that goes a little bit past it, curves out to here, so we kind of have something that looks a little bit like a letter S. And then we're going to bring that curve over here to right about there. Now if you look really hard, and I'll show you by erasing some of the guidelines here, we've just drawn Venom's tongue. So just something like that. Get rid of all these little eraser shavings. So something like this. So you can see our image is starting to take shape. Now we're going to draw the rest of his teeth inside of his mouth. The teeth, because of the fact that his jaw is open, are going to be at a little bit of a different angle. So we're still going to use the same type of drawing that we did, but we're going to start in the back, and we're going to do the teeth going up. Again, they're going to overlap. We can draw through because of the fact that we're pressing very lightly with our pencils, and we're going to go in later on with our black felted pen or black magic marker and ink over all of these teeth when we get to our finishing stage. We're going to do them slightly separate sizes and something very similar to that. Next step, we're going to go on to the other side and we're going to do something very similar to there with, again, the cone-shaped teeth. So right now we have eye shape, teeth, tongue. We're just going to clean this up a little bit, then we're going to go to the inking step, and then player twos, we would have just drawn Venom. So since Venom, and especially movie Venom's eyes are not perfectly shaped, we're going to follow our guideline and just kind of make maybe a few alterations. So maybe a curved line here, a little curve here, which leads to a triangle, and then we're going to bring this up to our guideline. We're going to fatten up our guideline over here, bring it down to a curve, and then bring it over to here. So when we're finished with this, we should have a shape that looks similar to this. Again, we started right here, went around there, maybe did a little curve, a little pointed line, curve here, and then we just fattened up our original guidelines over there. Because when we finish this and we go to our final step, we're going to end up bringing this around a little bit here, adding more of a shape to Venom's head, like so. We're going to move on to the other eye. We're going to make this a little bit less jagged and everything. So we're just going to follow our curve here. We're going to bring it up, maybe do a little bump at the top here, fatten this up a little bit there, and then bring it down around. So if I erased my original guidelines here, we should have something very similar to this. Okay, player twos. Now, that's pretty much all of step one. We're going to do one more thing before we start finishing this, and I'm just going to change his head shape slightly and add a little bit more to the top right here, just so it's not straight up right here when it comes to his jaw. So we have the top of his head and we have the bottom of his head. Something very similar to that. And then we're going to take our black felted pen or black magic marker and then go over only the lines that are necessary. So we're going to go over his head shape. And over his jaw. And go over the bottom of his tongue. And the rest of his jaw. And then I'm going to start going in and going over all of our little details. So over his teeth. Again, player 2, if your drawing does not look exactly like mine, that's okay. Practice, practice, practice. It took me a while to get to this point. And a lot of you are learning a new process by drawing with guidelines and shapes and such. So if it's not perfect, that's okay. But I guarantee if you keep practicing this, you're going to start seeing marked improvements in some of your drawings. I'm going over the bottom teeth here. We'll go over his tongue. Put a little curve in his tongue. Maybe I'm going to add a little curve right there too. Over the teeth. Over the jaw, over the other part of his tongue. Over here. And we add a couple slight little lines here. Just for a little thumb detail. You don't have to get it clear too, but. And then we're going to go over the eyes. And the other eye. And there you go. Player 2's, we have just drawn Venom. Now what you could do, after your ink dries, erase all of your pencil lines, and then take all this space right here, and I'm just going to do this just to signify where everything is, and just color it in. Again, this is very rough, but you can color in all this black space, and that will leave you with a finished Venom drawing. So I'm going to finish coloring all this stuff in, player 2s. I hope you enjoy drawing Venom, and I can't wait until the next class.
On this episode of the Classic Game Showcase, we're going to spend a little time with Spider-Man and Venom Separation Anxiety for the Sega Genesis. This side-scrolling beat-em-up was developed by Acclaim Entertainment and was released in 1995 for the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo. In this sequel to the video game Maximum Carnage, players control Spider-Man or Venom in one-player or two-player simultaneous play. The plot of this title is loosely based on the comic storyline of the same name, in which Venom is split from the symbiote which gives him his special abilities, spawning 5 other deadly symbiotes who have become enforcers for the evil Life Foundation. Venom must join forces with his archenemy Spider-Man to defeat the symbiotes and eventually battle the evil villain Carnage. Gameplay here is pretty much your standard side-scrolling beat-em-up in which players punch and kick their way through a series of enemies before reaching a boss battle at the end of each stage. Players are not alone in this fight, as they can call on other heroes such as Captain America, Ghost Rider, and Hawkeye for assistance. Spider-Man and Venom's separation anxiety isn't necessarily a bad game, there just isn't much to it. The gameplay becomes monotonous rather quickly, and players will get sick of battling the same bad guys over and over. The music, while decent, can be very repetitive at times, and this game suffers from a lack of cutscenes between stages. It's nice to grab a friend for the 2-player co-op, but aside from being able to play as Venom and Spider-Man simultaneously, this game is pretty much your run-of-the-mill beat-em-up. I can only recommend this game for hardcore Spider-Man and Venom fans, and if you're looking for a decent game that gives you the ability to play as these heroes, I highly recommend checking out the far superior Ultimate Spider-Man for PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, and various handheld systems. Till next time.
And that's a wrap on another edition of Rob's Arcade. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video to help this channel grow. Also be sure to follow Rob's Arcade at the social media links listed in the description below. Now, as far as the next episode goes, in honor of it being the 50th video posted on the channel, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to show my Player 2s my top 5 favorite Nintendo Entertainment System games. I'm sure all my Player 2s are going to love this one. And until then, keep drawing, keep playing video games, and I'll see you all next time at Rob's Arcade.